Hey guys, welcome back to Morgan Hill Farm. So I've just kind of been down here in the garden taking care of a few things, spreading a little bit of mulch in areas that need it. But the weather is just really beautiful this time of year. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. Earlier today, my youngest and I actually took a nice walk down into the woods, and it's just, this time of year is just a great time to get out into the woods. You can smell that sweet smell from all of the leaves that are falling off of the trees. We actually have a really beautiful creek on the back of our property, and so we were just kind of down there watching the little fish swim around, and it's just kind of really peaceful to be in the woods, or at least it used to be. I've told you guys this before, we have developments going on all around us here, so now when we go out into the woods, what used to be kind of quiet and peaceful, now we're serenaded by what sounds like mariachi bands. These workers are just blasting their music, and of course the developers have just stripped trees right up to the edge of the property line. They're just trying to get as many houses in that plot of land as they can. South Carolina, I feel like, is growing incredibly fast. Our county specifically has seen a massive amount of growth. I feel like there's thousands of homes just going in everywhere, and I've been watching these developments all around us. It's not just our county, it's a lot of different places, and it's not just South Carolina either. I feel like it's kind of the whole southern part of the United States that has just kind of seen this explosion. And the prices of these homes are just to give you an idea. So back in like 2015, you could get a really beautiful custom built brick home, let's say like 4,000 square feet, about 5 acres. Maybe it was built in the 90s, so perhaps you needed a little bit of updating if you wanted to. But still, the house was functioning, well taken care of, for about $300,000. Now, you're looking at a 1,500 square foot home, what a lot of people would call your cookie cutter home. And that's probably sitting on a third of an acre or less. And you're looking at that same $300,000 price tag. So here's where I'm going with all of this. 80% of Americans right now live in cities or suburbs, and only 20% live in what you consider like a rural or agricultural setting. Some estimates even say that that's closer to only 14% of people living in a rural area. And every year, that percentage goes down and down and down. People are just leaving those agricultural settings. And some of that is probably due to the fact that you have these big developments coming in, and they're just taking this acreage and they're just converting it into these urban centers, city centers. And so maybe it's not even that people are actually leaving the areas. Maybe it's just essentially that those areas are being taken over with those high density developments. If I lived in an urban area or a city and I was kind of seeing everything that was going on in the world with the agenda kind of playing out as it is, I know that I would have a lot of sleepless nights. And in fact, when we saw everything in 2020, I felt incredibly out of control. Like there was nothing that I could do to feed my family if the grocery store didn't have food on the shelves. I just felt like we really needed to get out of our current situation. And so if you guys are feeling this way, I would do everything that you could as soon as possible to get your current home on the market. If you've been there quite a while, you might actually find that you're sitting on some substantial equity. I would start looking at areas, maybe they're going to be a little bit further out than you ideally would want to be, but that's going to give you a little more bang for your buck. That's going to give you the opportunity to get some land and get a home for less money than where you're at right now. Now, maybe the house is going to be smaller, but I would get as much land as I could comfortably afford. Maybe that's 1 acre, maybe that's 5, maybe that's 20 acres. It really doesn't matter. But you just need somewhere where you can start to make preparations for the future. Maybe finding something with a well on the property, maybe it's got a septic system, a creek, a water source of some type. There might even be some outbuildings on that property that you could maybe make into a chicken coop or sort of like a makeshift barn area or something. Just somewhere that sort of has its own resources where you're not tied into everything through your city. When you own land, you've got space to grow your own food, maybe put in some solar panels, you can keep animals, store fuel. Just imagine what that would do for your peace of mind? How much less stress would you have, and how much of a better place would you be in mentally if you didn't feel like you were powerless, if that's the way that you're feeling? It might give you the ability to pay a few bills off if you actually have some equity in your home. Maybe that's paying for the home in cash, but maybe it's just paying off a car note, or maybe that's paying off a student loan or just a credit card. If you didn't have to worry about that debt hanging over your head, and you were able to decrease your monthly output, just kind of get your family ready for what's coming, how much better would you feel? Everything in the world that we're seeing with digital ID, with AI surveillance, there's always Agenda 2030, just the massive amounts of control that they're really trying to implement. Every month, I feel like there's just more and more and more that they're able to do so quickly. And if somebody wanted to make a move to get out of the city and to get out of the suburbs and become more self-reliant or self-sufficient, I really do believe in America that we actually have enough grit to save our country, to maintain our freedoms from this whole global control thing that they're pushing. And I know that that probably sounds a bit lofty. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. But hear me out. I do think if we continue on this trajectory of where we're continuing to watch this agenda play out, I think I feel like there's going to be this major event, basically. It's really going to be tied to digital ID. I think this is how they're going to push this through. Maybe it's a cyber attack, maybe it's something else. But I feel like a major event is going to happen, and whatever event that is, that's what they're going to say. If we had digital ID, this would not have been an issue. And I feel like we're going to see that mandated and pushed through just like in the blink of an eye. That's what we're seeing right now in the UK. They're saying they need those digital IDs to stop that illegal immigration, and that's how they're pushing it through, and they're doing it at lightning speed. And when digital IDs are mandated for every aspect of our life, I think once that happens, I think you're quickly going to find that you lose a lot of your freedoms, and a lot of your privacy is going to be eliminated. And essentially, it's going to prevent you from doing what it is that you want to do, whether that be buying land and becoming more self-sufficient. Maybe it's just preparing and stocking up on canned goods at the store. They're going to be able to track every move. They're going to see everything that you're doing. Put that surveillance together with everything that they're watching you do on the internet. They're going to know what you're planning to do before you even know it. They're going to be monitoring every piece of information, everything that you're researching, everything that you're trying to learn, and everything that you're trying to do. So every day that we wait to do this, we're just betting on a system that already has so many cracks in its foundations. Cities and urban areas, they're built for when things work, not for when things go bad. And I guess when you start to see things break down, the agendas finally start to kind of come together, cities are really going to be that first place where things start to spiral out of control. You're probably listening to me thinking I'm crazy talking about this grand scheme, this grand agenda that I think is going to be taking place. But it doesn't have to be that. It could just be a smaller crisis. It just takes one little spark. And think of the things that have caused riots in the past, civil unrest, right? It's just one political view. It's just one story in the news. And that's really all it takes for that chaos to start. Now, even if you're prepared for it and you're in a city or an urban area, you're not growing and raising your own food. And that's a big problem, because once you open that first can of food, or once you open that first prep, that clock starts ticking. It's not like you can go to the store and replenish that. If the store doesn't have it, then your clock has started and your food is going to start dwindling, your supplies, your batteries, your medical things. You're not going to be able to replace those. So here's what I would be doing. I would be looking for land. Now, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe it's a home. Maybe it needs a little bit of updating. Maybe it's smaller than what you're used to. but I would get myself out of the city. I'd get some land underneath my feet. I'd start building something, maybe set up a water system. I would build a garden, maybe some animal areas on my property. I'd start getting supplies and just kind of learn as much as I could. I know a lot of people are looking at me and you're saying, oh, that's easy for you to say. You're already standing in a garden that you've built. You already have things in place. You already have a home built. You have animal areas set up. You know, you've got the chicken coops. And I get it. I'm already in this place and that seems very easy. But in 2020, we sold our house without knowing where we were going because we felt that the Lord told us to. We sold our dream home. We sold a home with a kitchen that was absolutely beautiful. I still long for that kitchen. Now, I'm not ungrateful for what I have here, but I'm trying to convey that everything is not perfect. Everything was not perfect for us. When we moved here, if I could have just taken that home and put it on this property, I think that that would have been the ideal situation. But we left our home and we left a church that we loved. We left a homeschool community. We left neighbors that loved my children like they were their own flesh and blood. They would bring them gifts every holiday, every birthday. And that was really difficult, not knowing where we were going or why we were moving. And not knowing if we were going to find a property after our house was under contract, because our house was under contract to be sold and we had not looked for anything at that point. What I'm saying is that, yes, I'm already here, but that's only because we went through this about 4 years ago. The same thing that I'm saying that I would do again. The uncertainty of not knowing where we were gonna lay our heads, if my kids would have a bed. You know, we made that choice to move out of our comfort zone because we knew we had to do it. Things can happen in the blink of an eye. You never know when the next crisis is gonna hit. It's not like they're forecasting this and you have time to react and prepare. And so I really encourage you guys to be as self-reliant as possible so that you can thrive in those difficult situations. Because you're not guaranteed anything. You're not guaranteed that you're gonna find food on the shelf when you go to the grocery store, cash in the ATM, fuel at the gas station. You're not even guaranteed in a month that you're still gonna have the opportunity to sell your house and to move to property, to put your family in a better situation. So while you still can, and the world has some bit of sanity in it, and you still have some of your freedoms, I would be doing all that I could to get where I needed to be. And I know that that's easier in the moment. It's easier in the moment just to kind of stay where we are. We feel comfortable, do what we've always been doing. And I know it takes a leap of faith because we've done that. I know it takes blood, sweat, and tears because we have done that. But I'm telling you, I am so glad that we did it. I am so glad that we went through that season of uncertainty because of the peace it's brought us, knowing that I have the opportunity to work in this garden and grow food, knowing that I have the opportunity to get my hands dirty and clean chicken poop out of a chicken coop or go down and deal with pigs that stink to high heaven. Any discomfort that I'm going to have in this life is worth it. And I'm just telling you guys what I would do if I was still in that situation. But 100%, I would do it all over again because I know that we are in a better place. I know how well I sleep at night. I know how much less stress we have. My biggest concern is getting my potatoes out of the ground before the frost hits, not whether or not I'm going to be able to find food for my family or supplies or be able to get gas in my car. And so if you guys can, and you really feel led to do that, I would say do it, because in the short term it will be painful, but in the long term you will be so grateful that you did it. But anyways, guys, the sun is getting lower. It's pretty blinding right now, actually. This daylight savings time thing really kills me because it's just really mid-afternoon, but it feels like it's 5 o'clock. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you in the next video.